Sea levels are rising, bro, across the entire globe. Rich or poor, projects to the burbs, United States, all the way around the planet, damn it. We got the same problem. We're about to be the very cause of our own extinction. If we don't choose to fight for human rights, we're forward thinking. Emotions translated into deeds is what we need. University cities where anyone can study free, and you can help make it happen, or you can hope so. We are not conscious. There is so much we don't know. Peace. My name is Bones. I'm here to show my support for y'all. I'm going to be here throughout the day. Y'all can go to darknightrecords.com to learn more. I bring free documentaries and music videos to tell y'all more. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm here on behalf of the Venus Project, showing some support to Medea, Code Pink, and everybody out here who got up off their ass today to show the world how we can make a better place, that we can stand up together. Peace.
I'm your masters of war. You that build all the guns, you that build the death planes, you that build the big bombs, you that hide behind walls, you that hide behind death. We just want you to know we can see through your mask. The triggers for others to fire, then you sit back and watch while the death count gets higher. You hide in your mansions while young people's blood flows out of their bodies and is buried in the mud. That can never be heard. The fear to bring children into the world, for threatening our babies, unborn and unnamed. You ain't worth the blood that runs through your veins.
Our next speaker is a stalwart of the anti-war movement. David Swanson is an author, activist, journalist, and radio host. He is the director of worldbeyondwar.org and campaign coordinator for rootsaction.org. Swanson's books include War is a Lie. He blogs at davidswanson.org and warisacrime.org. He hosts Talk Nation Radio, and he is a 2015, 2016, and 2017 Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Give it up for David Swanson!
Thank you. Y'all look beautiful. Most countries on this planet have the U.S. military in them. Most countries on Earth burn less fossil fuel than does the U.S. military. And that is without calculating how much worse for the climate the jet fuel is than the other fossil fuels. And that is without considering the fossil fuels burned by the world's leading weapons makers, or the pollution caused by the use of those weapons all over the world. The U.S. is the top weapons dealer to the world and has weapons on multiple sides now of most wars. The U.S. military created 69% of the Superfund environmental disaster sites and is the third leading polluter of U.S. waterways. When the British first developed the obsession with the Middle East, handed off to the United States, the desire was to fuel the British Navy. Which came first, the wars or the oil? It was the wars. Wars and preparations for more wars consume huge quantities of oil. But the wars are indeed fought for control of the oil. So-called foreign intervention in civil wars is, according to comprehensive studies, 100 times more likely, not where there is suffering, not where there is cruelty, not where there is a threat to the world, but where the country at war has large reservoirs of oil, or the intervener has a high demand for oil. We need to learn to say no more wars for oil and no more oil for wars. You know who agrees with us on that? Pre-presidential campaign Donald Trump. On December 6, 2009, on page 8 of the New York Times, a letter to President Obama, printed as an advertisement and signed by Donald Trump, called "Climate Change an Immediate Challenge. Please don't postpone the Earth," it said. If we fail to act now, it is scientifically irrefutable that there will be catastrophic and irreversible consequences for humanity and our planet. In fact, Trump is now acting to speed up those consequences, an action prosecutable as a crime against humanity in the International Criminal Court. That's right. At least if Trump were African. It is also a crime impeachable by the United States Congress, at least if there were sex involved in it. Holding this government accountable is going to be up to us. Try to say these two lines with me. No more wars for oil, no more oil for wars. No more wars for oil, no more oil for wars. No more wars for oil, no more oil for wars.
Her newest book is called Understanding ISIS and the New Global War on Terror. The woman who needs no introduction in this crowd, please help me welcome Phyllis Bennis.
Hey you all, this looks amazing. Defenders of the truth, that's what we are. The truth is what Dr. Martin Luther King taught us 50 years ago this month. That the United States is the biggest purveyor of violence in the world. And the Pentagon, the U.S. military, is the biggest purveyor of greenhouse gases in the world. It's hot today. Are you hot? Are you hot? Do you need more water? Why do you need more water? Because the Pentagon is destroying our environment. If we want to defend the truth, that means we have to be willing to speak the truth. And speaking the truth means speaking truth to power at the White House, to power at the Congress, to power at the Pentagon, to say no more. No more wars for oil, with oil, by oil, and about oil. No more wars for power. No more wars to oppress others. We need to take back our earth away from wars. We have been at war with terrorism for 15 years, and terrorism is doing just fine. It's the world that's not. The world is suffering from our wars. People are not more safe. Our people are not more safe. Our sisters and brothers of Afghanistan and Iraq and Somalia and Yemen and so many other places around the world, in Syria, they are not more safe from our wars. So we have to say safety means clean air and fresh water. We don't want our whole country to be Flint, Michigan, but we don't want Flint, Michigan in Gaza. We want clean water for Gaza and for Flint, because we stand for internationalism, we stand for international justice, we stand for the truth of what Dr. King said, that you cannot talk about militarism without talking about racism. You cannot talk about racism without talking about materialism. And if Dr. King was with us today, he would say you cannot talk about climate without talking about war. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to Phyllis and David for pointing us the way forward through their powerful words, speaking truth to power, reminding us that war is a crime. War is a crime. Now, we couldn't be guided without poetry of spoken word and the beautiful art that tells us the world we want to live in. Zara Dinola is a migrant Filipina and a New York City educator. She's serving as the Secretary of Community Affairs for the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it is warm, it's sticky out here, but it is still beautiful to see all of you out here. So I am here coming from the Filipino community, and we in the Filipino community cannot help but ensure that our voices are heard when it comes to environmental justice. Back in 2013, the Philippines was hit by the largest and hardest typhoon to ever hit planet Earth, Typhoon Haiyan, which caused over 6,000 fatalities out there. So we are here to ensure that we, as the Filipino community, and those who are here with us today, are actually educated with what's happening back home in the Philippines. So when people are calling for environmental justice, what wind up happening is that military is the response from both the Philippine government and the U.S. government. Between the U.S. and the Philippines, there is a visiting forces agreement that have long been in standing in the Philippines, bringing in militarization, leaving much of the emissions in the Philippines, ruining coral reefs that have been grown for years. The U.S. and the Philippine government have yet to rectify this and figure out how to really ensure that they protect the Philippine government. Much of the media talk about the military as helping out the people whenever there are disasters, man-made disasters, but this is not what's happening back home. What's really happening is that they are ruining the Philippines, they are ruining the environment from the people, and they are ensuring that people are suppressed when people are speaking against these injustices. But prior to Haiyan, there are many devastations that's been going on in the Philippines. Annually, there are over 25 typhoons that hit the Philippines. So when it comes to recovery, there is no recovery for the Philippines because much of it is actually coming from previous disasters. These disasters, as I mentioned earlier, are not necessarily natural, they are man-made. Much of it is protected by the government of the Philippines and the United States in ensuring that corporation greed is actually protected. Whenever people in the Philippines have actually peacefully protested, much of them are imprisoned. So there's a rise of political prisoners in the Philippines coming from fighting against these environmental injustices. Much of them are also people whose lands have been stolen just to be used and abused by all these corporations. About 2 years ago, there was an incident, Mama Sapano incident in the Philippines, where it is really a result of El Nino or severe drought in the Philippines. And so what happens is when political activists and farmers have voiced out their grievances about this, they are faced by bullets and not helped by the Philippine government. So much of this militarization will continue to increase under Trump and under this administration. We have already seen this responding to what happened in Syria, the attack in Afghanistan recently. So we here, it is our greater responsibility to ensure that we are responding, we are voicing out against these attacks to the environment and to the people. We have to ensure that we are going to continue to fight. So again, environmental justice to the Philippines and occupation and militarization. Stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to Palestine to the Philippines. Stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to Palestine to the Philippines. Stop the U.S. war machine from Syria to Palestine to the Philippines. Thank you.
Now our next speaker is a spoken word poet. Rasha Abduladi is a queer Scots, Irish, Cherokee Palestinian who grew up between Damascus and Roto, South Georgia, and cut her teeth organizing on the south sides of Chicago and Atlanta.
Thank you. Hello, are you awake out here? No. Are you awake out here? Because I know you're awake, but I want to make sure you're awake. Yeah? All right. I think if I get on this side of the mic, it's going to give me the bass so you can hear me. So I appreciate it, but I'm gonna hang out right here. The first poem that I want to offer to you is a recognition of the global nature of the environmental movement, which is something that I appreciate. A movement that recognizes that our work, our families, our lives, and our very survival do not end at the borders that have crossed us.
As a Southerner, as a Palestinian, as a daughter of the queer South, I'm a person who declines the false boundaries of gender. And I look to what ties our movements and our struggles together. So the question for me is not necessarily what to do with Palestine, but recognizing that Palestine is everywhere and that every part of the struggles we face are connected to Palestine. Is Palestine everywhere? In every arrest of a black man, woman, or child in Atlanta. In every neighborhood of D.C. plowed under as the people of the nations of the earth move here. In every stolen public dollar belonging to the people of Detroit. In every drop of water from the D-Day Nation used to pump the coal slush that lights up Las Vegas. In every deportation center, at every checkpoint and traffic stop, in all the land that disappears from beneath the feet of farmers in Chicago, in rural Illinois, in the streets of Baltimore, where young people held rocks and riot against riot gear and rubber-slicked bullets, in all the young Americans wrapped in uniforms that go off to fight and come back wrapped in flags. I read Palestine. When the news says Egypt, Syria, Yemen, Iraq, I step around the bodies as I cross the train platforms and I count them on the walk to work. Baba, you said that wherever you lived was your home, that there was no such thing as where you come from, but Baba, your home followed you everywhere. The hands that pushed you out of olive groves and orange orchards have been pushing at the corners of every place I've ever lived. And these days, it seems that I can't call any place home until I find where you come from.
Save the planet! Save the planet! Stop the wars! Stop the wars! Save the planet! Save the planet! We have a wonderful peace movement. And I'll tell you, one of the really partners that are a huge part of us. I want to welcome Dr. Dan Saint, an activist for peace and justice from Veterans for Peace.
I've never been this tall before. That's better. I just want to speak briefly, and it's a real honor to be here and to see all of you. Yesterday, we did we're with a group called It Takes Roots, and we did a direct action. It's actually blocked this street off like it is today, but there was traffic yesterday. And so there were police all around us, the Capitol Police, the Secret Service, the Metro, and I could see there was a policeman who was really angry, kind of, I don't know, maybe so much angry, but just kind of disgusted with us for blocking the way. And afterwards, I went up to him and I said, brother, thank you for protecting us today. And his whole mood changed. And he said, man, do you think we can really make a difference out here? And I said, I think so. I said, if not us, who can? You know? And he said, I don't know. He said, I know what the government there is today. I don't know if it really if marching makes a difference anymore or not. And I said, well, I think it does. And, you know, think back to the 60s, less than 1% of the population marched, but there's a lot of change for civil rights. And but anyway, the point of it is, you know, when we see hatred as peace activists, we really need to feel love. And when we see anger, or feel anger, which we all do, we need to deep inside and feel compassion, because if we're fighting for peace, we're fighting. But if we want to live in peace, we have to live in peace. Thank you.
No blood for oil!
No blood for oil!
Keep it in the soil!
Keep it in the soil!
Moving right along. I want you to welcome Noman Amin. He's a water activist and an exchange student from Yemen. He studies political science in Cairo and participates in civic engagement projects and peace awareness here.
Hello everyone. Thanks for coming today in this hot day. Thanks for showing to the world that we care about our environment and that we care about our planet. Today, I want to speak to you about my country, Yemen, and the dangers of the war out there on the environment, which, by the way, the U.S. is taking a daily active role in that war. The new Trump administration wants to escalate that war, and that means more harm to our planet, more harm to Yemen, and more harm to the environment. Now, Yemen is mostly a dry desert area. This war complicates it and makes the soil in the areas less suitable for agriculture. The remnants of the fighting and the pollutants from the fighting pollutes the soil and pollutes the air. Yemen lives mainly on imports, so like more than 60-70% of the food is imported. And now with like the soil and the environment being polluted, this makes it even worse. This makes a huge burden on the economy and on the environment of Yemen. This also makes the areas more desertified, which causes more pollution and affects the urban communities. This is killing life in many ways, aside from the war itself and the humanitarian toll of the war, supported by the U.S. The U.S. involvement is killing environment as well in Yemen. But perhaps the biggest problem is water. According to the Time magazine, Yemen is one of the first countries that is supposed to run out of water completely. Yemen uses mostly underground water. Now with the war that is ongoing, many areas cannot access water, and many communities have to get water in sort of not appropriate ways, so that affects the water storage areas. So it affects the water and affects the underground water extraction process. So this harms the overall capability of extracting water in the future, which makes it even worse for new communities to get water later on. This makes the system unsustainable and makes water less accessible to many people who are already starving. Water is also polluted by war efforts, making more people have no clean water to use. One of the main issues as well is landmines. Hundreds of these have been planted around urban areas, around residential areas. Now mines prevent agriculture and they threaten wildlife. Therefore, America is not only killing humanity in Yemen, but it's also killing the environment and killing the wildlife out there, and slowly killing the people. It's about time for all of us to do something about it. It's about time to say no to the U.S. killing the environment and no to the U.S. killing humanity. Thank you.
From Greenfield, Massachusetts. He plays at rallies, conferences, coffee houses, and house concerts. Ben is the executive director of the People's Music Network for songs of freedom and struggle.
This song was written by Cy Khan, a wonderful songwriter from North Carolina. It's called I'll Be There, and we all need to be there for each other in the hard times coming ahead. Sing this with me, I'll be there. When the times are darkest, I'll be there. When the way is hardest, I'll be there. When the road is longest, I'll be there. When the need is strongest, I'll be there. 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 Oh, I'll be there. Be there for my sister. I'll be there. Be there for my brother. I'll be there. Be there for my mother. I'll be there. Be there for each other. I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Oh, I'll be there.
Thank you, Ben. Hey, family, we have a quick announcement. Listen up. Desiree from Code Pink.
Hi all, you look beautiful. Just a quick message. Pull out your cell phones. Text to 21333 the word climate, so you get the update for the action at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
21333 climate. Important announcement. Listen up. We have come together today I want to thank Code Pete for the logistical support here, especially Ty Berry. Let's hear it. Hip hip.
I am absolutely delighted to bring to you one of the women who is absolutely continuing the tradition of women-led resistance to war. Woo! I'd like to introduce you all to Beatrice Maneshi. Beatrice is an Iranian-American security, human rights, and international peace policy analyst and activist, and she is currently the main organizer of the Women's March to Ban Nuclear Weapons. The Women's March to Ban the Bomb is going to take place in New York City on June 17th. Mark it down in your calendars and we will see you there, and she's going to tell you way more about it. Please welcome Beatrice.
It's an honor to be with you all here today, although it's triggered by grave conditions that we face. We are 2.5 minutes to midnight. This is the closest we've been to midnight since 1953, at the onset of the arms race, which was resulting in the stockpile of thousands of nuclear weapons. We are ticking closer to environmental collapse due to the lack of coherent response to climate change, which this president denies as a hoax and global leaders fail to address. Our seas are warming and rising. Carbon dioxide is the highest level in modern history, and those most vulnerable and affected by climate change are already suffering. All of these impacts demand a response from our government. Those most value corporate greed and military spending over human life. While nuclear arms states invest billions of dollars in nuclear arsenals, and while the major continue profits of bloodshed in their countries, while other governments continue to cut funding in environmental protection, healthcare, education, other justice programs. In the U.S. alone, federal funding on many programs, including the EPA, has been cut by 31%, while the government is spending over $1 trillion in the next 30 years modernizing the nuclear arsenals. The investment in nuclear weapons systems not only takes money away from programs that can help address climate change, but also the threat of use of nuclear weapons. In the event of nuclear war being used, cities would burn to the ground, and the ash would rise, forming huge amounts of smoke in the atmosphere, impacting the weather for years. The smoke will block the sun, causing the temperatures to plummet, impacting farm and food supplies globally, resulting in mass starvation of millions, if not billions, of people due to the nuclear winter. But we don't have to talk about the hypotheticals to be alarmed. As a global community, we are already experiencing the effects of over 2,000 nuclear test explosions that have taken place since 1945, causing grave effects to human health, local ecosystems wherever the bombs are detonated. In the islands of the Pacific, in the deserts of Australia and Nevada, in the rural regions of Kazakhstan, and of course in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, we see the detrimental effects of nuclear testing and the use that sears the earth, poisons the air and water, and renders the land unusable, affecting generations of people to come. This is why the Women's International League of Peace and Freedom is in solidarity and resistance to the denial of climate change and the continued investment and possession of nuclear weapons. Security does not equal military might. Security is about the well-being of every human being, based on the environment, human rights, justice, peace, and respect for the world that we depend on. We stand in solidarity with all of you here today, calling on our governments to effectively address climate change by ending the fossil fuel cycle dependency, which breeds war, militarism, and detriments the health and health of our environment. We seek carbon-free, nuclear-free. Global warming and climate change are fueled by the economies dependent on military solutions, such as the threat of nuclear use during conflicts instead of diplomacy. Prohibiting nuclear weapons is urgent and necessary. The majority of governments around the world are already taking the first steps. They're in the process of negotiating a nuclear ban treaty, banning nuclear weapons internationally. The next round of negotiations is taking place in New York City, and we are organizing a women's march to ban the bomb. 17th of June to support the negotiations. Join us! Call for the end of the nuclear era! Call for an end of institutionalized militarism at the cost of the environment and our welfare.
Yeah!
Are you wondering what to do after this march? Continue to resist. Join us June 17th. Call for an end to nuclear war. Protect our environment and Mother Earth.
I'm pleased to introduce you to Dr. Mara Alvarez. She is a medical doctor from Saudi Arabia who fights for women's rights. And she is also an active member of Go-Pink. Give it up for Dr. Mara.
Hi everyone, my name is Marwa. I'm a medical doctor from Saudi Arabia and a member of the peace group Go-Pink. As a woman who is committed to healing, I feel compelled to speak out against the toxic relationship between Saudi Arabia and the U.S.
That's right, it's horrible.
That relationship is based on two destructive powers, oil and weapons. Do you know that Saudi Arabia is the largest exporter of oil in the world? And although it's a very sunny country with its vast potential for solar energy and enormous resources, Saudi Arabia could totally lead the world in renewable energy. And instead, its economy remains almost dependent on oil. For decades, the United States has had a massive military presence in the Middle East. And for what? To keep the free flow of oil and to protect their repressive Gulf monarchies. On the international level, Saudi Arabia works with the United States to oppose global climate agreements that would affect oil profits. And what does Saudi do with all its petrodollars? It has become #1 purchaser of U.S. weapons. These weapons are being used to oppress democratic rebellions throughout the Middle East and support extremist groups, with devastating human and environmental consequences. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, a desert nation, is already experiencing extreme impacts of climate change. There are severe water shortages, and the capital Riyadh has become one of the most polluted cities in the world. The ties between Saudi Arabia and the U.S. is killing the planet as well as people. That's why we have to stand together to end the fossil fuel economies and to end the war. Yes. And that's why I'm very excited to see everyone here marching for climate, because we're not allowed to do this in Saudi Arabia, and that's why American people must stand for this. Thank you.
Persist! Resist! Persist! Resist!
Hey, how you doing? All right. I already know you can sing. Now I'm happy to count. When I say one, you say we are the people. When I say two, you say we love each other. When I say three, you say we will not let them wreck our planet. You ready? One, we are the
People!
two,
We love each other!
three,
We will not let them wreck our planet!
one,
We are the people!
two,
We love each other!
three.
We will not let them wreck our planet!
This is a chant for anybody, whether you're right here in the spot, as long as you hear us, join us. One,
We are the people!
two,
We love each other!
three.
We will not let them wreck our planet!
All right. And here's the deal. We cannot effectively address climate change without ending war and militarism. We cannot end war without ending the fossil fuel energy system that breeds both climate wars and war. We march for social justice and the end of our disastrous wars. The threat, the use, the stockpiling of nuclear weapons endangers our lives and puts the future of our planet in peril. One, two, three. Our presence here today is not a picnic. Our presence here today is more than a march. Our presence here today is aligned with the framework of the Constitution through the Bill of Rights. It says whenever a people, it is your duty to overturn or abolish that government. We're not talking about war. We're talking about using the electoral process, and we're talking about doing what we're doing today. Gather in mass resistance to a psycho president and a wayward Congress. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
When I say no war, you say no warming. No war.
No warming!
No war.
No warming!
No war.
No warming!
So we have a guy in the White House that prides himself on being unpredictable. Oh boy! How do you feel about an unpredictable guy with a finger on the nuclear button? So right now that guy is threatening to take us to a big, big war, a huge war with North Korea. Catastrophic for the people of South Korea. Catastrophic for the 28,000 U.S. soldiers based in South Korea. Catastrophic for this planet. So we've got to go to our senators who were briefed in the White House just on Friday and call them up next week and say, we want political talks, not war. Political talks with North Korea, not war. Let me hear you say it. Political talks with North Korea, not war. Political talks with North Korea, not war. You know, I was in North Korea a year ago with a group of women that crossed the demilitarized zone, which let me tell you is not demilitarized. It's the most militarized zone in the world. And we met with women in North Korea and South Korea. We are all working together with women from 40 different countries to pressure the governments around the world to say, cool it, step back. We cannot afford a nuclear catastrophe with North Korea. So please join us in that struggle. There's one other issue I wanted to mention. Do you know there are 20 million people now facing famine? Do you know what countries they're in? Name them. Yemen, Sudan, South Sudan, Nigeria, Somalia. That's right. What do all these countries have in common? They're all countries where wars are going on. They're all countries that have massive refugee problems. They're all countries where resources are scarce, where the climate catastrophe is already a catastrophe. So we have to show our president that we care about the 20 million people facing famine. And one of the things that we could do is take a portion of the money, the $54 billion he wants to add to the Pentagon, and put that into humanitarian aid for 20 million people facing famine. Is that a better use of our money? I would say that Donald Trump has a compassion deficit. And we have to fill that compassion deficit to show the world that we love the people around the world, that we care for people who are starving, who are refugees, people who need our help. So as we march today, let's remember the refugees are Mother Earth, and let's say together that we have to divest from fossil fuels and divest from war. So say it together with me. Divest from fossil fuels, divest from war. Divest from fossil fuels, divest from war. Let's build a peace economy. Thank you.
So, people ask us, Why do we come to these big demonstrations? Why do we travel? And we travel from all over this country. So from Puerto Rico, from coast to coast, this is awesome. We are the people. Why do we do this? I say that one, we learn more. Have we learned more today? Yes. Two, we get connected. Are we connected? Yes. And three, we get the energy to go home and to do the work. Are we ready for that? Yes. Are we ready?